So we're almost ready. What we actually have is 2 public hearings before we officially start the board meeting. One of them is a capital outlay by Mr. Martin, and one of them is a code of conduct by Mr. Cervoni. And then we'll go into the official board meeting. We have a quorum. We have 4 of us here tonight from the board. There's different work responsibilities that have taken Paul, Don, and Jack out of town. But thank you all for being here.
All right, so we'll start with the public hearing, the capital outlay presentation by Mr. Martin.
I'm not Ellen.
I know. You're not Ellen. Well, it's for the audience to see. And you ready? Yep, or just back and forth, the arrows, how's that, okay?
Okay, thank you. Good evening. If this sounds vaguely familiar, it's only because I did it during the budget presentation, but that wasn't official. So now I'm here to do the official hearing on the capital outlay project that is being proposed for the 2019 and 2020 school year. Okay?
David, we're having trouble hearing you.
Okay, better? Okay. So just in review, basically the way this thing works, and we've done this for a few years now, is in simplistic terms, I come to you and we together decide on what kind of capital work you want done in a single building. So you give me $1, I spend that $1, and you get 75% of it back, or whatever our building aid is, the next year. So then we develop our budget, the money that you have to appropriate again, plus your aid will give us another project. So in the grand scheme of things, what happens is we can do up to $100,000 worth of work. So that has to include the capital work, it has to include the engineering work, and whatever bidding process we have to go through in order to be able to secure contractors to do up to $100,000 worth of work. And the same scenario applies. We do the work, we get our aid back the following year, and then we have to budget basically the difference in order to do another $100,000 worth of work the following year. So essentially what the architects have said in the past is we just want to keep our buildings warm, safe, and dry and make enhancements when we can. So what we've done in our regular capital project is we did a major rebuild of the gymnasium wall at the high school. You may have been around when that was done, but essentially all of the brickwork was taken down on one side and new brickwork was put in its place to stop the leaking that had been occurring for 30 plus years or 40 plus years, long before I was here. So we got the leak stopped. Now what we have to do is we have to address everything underneath that. So what we're proposing is that we're going to repair the ceiling that goes all the way around the gymnasium, and in the entryway, new grid, new tile work, and replace all of that so it looks nice and clean and up to date. If we don't spend all of the money, the other thing we're going to do is put in an alternate bid to do a pair of doors or a couple of pairs of doors somewhere in that building. Where those will be at, I don't know, but we're going to do something if we can. All right, so that's basically the capital outlay project in a nutshell, what we're doing and what we plan to do. So at this point, I will take any questions anyone has.
Mr. Martin, when do you anticipate this work to begin?
Well, obviously it's got to be designed and then go to state ed. So it probably will happen not this summer, but next summer. This summer we do concrete work outside of the auditorium and whatever else we can accomplish with the 100,000. And this hearing covers the next year.
You explained it beautifully. Because I
Thank
think
you.
sometimes the years on the capital outlay get caught up. We think we're approving something for the current summer.
Correct.
Because that's the way we think, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Good. Your hearing's concluded. Have a good evening.
Thank you, David. The next one is our code of conduct from Mr. Cervoni, our middle school principal.
Yep, good evening, Board of Ed. My name is Jeff Cervoni, principal of Eden Middle School. This is our annual public hearing on the Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct is our board-approved, really, rules and rights of all of our students. And every year, we take a look at it through the shared decision-making process, and it's really a continuous improvement plan for our Code of Conduct. We clear up language, we add new language as things change in schools. So we have a couple changes that we worked on this year that will take place after it's approved through all of you. Does everybody have a copy? Or you're looking at it? I just thought we had hard copies with the highlighted area, that's why I was asking.
We're trying to save trees.
There you go. That's the changes.
That's the summary changes, so I'm actually looking for the big doc. Okay. Yep, if you turn to page 11. I might actually have, hang on, let me see if I have copies for you guys so you can see the highlights. But the changes aren't highlighted in there. Ours are. You do? Okay. So do you guys see number 2, or maybe it's just not low enough? Listen to, there you go. Okay, it's perfect. Thank you. So what we did here on this page is we took 2 and 6 and we combined them to make number 7. And a lot of this had to do with what students wear in the schools. So we eliminated slippers and some pajama wear, and we combined it all into number 7, the no sleepwear line. Okay, if we go to page 13, toward the bottom, number 5, we added that entire section. That is because we now have that exact statement sitting in our new main entrance, and we want parents to read that when they come in, and we thought it was important to put it into our code of conduct officially.
So can I ask, this is a frequent occurrence then? People bringing in? Seriously?
Tim Hortons, Subway.
Wow.
So it's just nice when we can refer to our code of conduct whenever we have conversations with parents or students. Number 7 was loitering on school premises. On any school premises, that's what we're finding now is kids are hanging out a lot, and they're just sort of, a lot of times there's no purpose for them to be at school. Questions on any of those? Okay, page 14. So we added that section on C. It has to do with cell phones. We've always allowed cell phones at Eden, but we continuously try to manage cell phone usage, and our students are actually really good about it, and they're respectful. But as things come up and we learn different things, we add language to our code of conduct to just improve how we manage cell phone use. So we added that line there to letter C, that we'd like it in the student's pocket or bag, not on the desk. Just adding more specifics to the line. Letter D has become a bigger problem in the middle and high school. Students constantly have headphones in their ears, and what we've done unofficially or just through a building rule is that we ask them just to keep one in their ear. So now we thought we'd make it official and put it in the code of conduct.
And that's so they can hear you, right?
A lot of it is for safety reasons. We want them to be able to hear, whether it's an adult or a student or a safety drill. I mean, they have those headphones in and they're cranking tunes. So. Letter F we put in due to all the testing that the students participate in, has to do with use of electronics and testing. We do read a statement just for the board's knowledge. Every state test or regents that's administered, a statement is read to students advising them and warning them of use of electronics. It's a big deal. Have we been in the middle of a regents and heard a phone ring in a pocket? We have. It's an interesting scenario. Page 15, please. 15, we added this section. Harassment, even if it occurs while at home, may have consequences at school if the conduct interferes with the school environment. More and more often, we're finding that events that occur on the weekends sometimes bring their, and that scared me too, Cheryl.
Mrs. Burrows knows she's going to have to come back to show us the new baby,
Yeah.
right? Okay, as long as she knows that.
Sorry.
No, we expect
Mrs.
to meet
Burrows.
the new puppy when Mr. Cervoni's done. Yeah.
So anyway, 6 was just a small addition, just letting students and parents know that even though it happens outside of school, if it makes its way into school, we will address it if it interferes with instruction or the school climate. Page 16, please. 16, we added 18 and 19. 18, instigate or encourage another person to violate this code of conduct. And 19 is actions that create an intentional breach of our building security. And really what that is students opening doors for other students or letting people in. Page 26, please. This was just a small change. It's not even highlighted. We had main entrance and we changed it to attendance. Third paragraph, far right, first line. Because it's our attendance office now. And 27. This is language around our academic probation and eligibility program that we continuously try to write more clearly and make it easier to understand. So we mirrored exactly what we sent parents or what we send parents. So all of the changes that you see are changes that we made with our communication to parents. And it's always in an effort to help them understand and appreciate this program that we created a few years ago. And that concludes the public hearing for the District Code of Conduct.
So what's the next step?
Next step is,
Goes up on the website.
goes up on the website, it sits for 30 days. The board will vote at the next board meeting. If anyone sees anything in those highlighted areas that need to be changed, let me know and we'll certainly make those changes. This is always a big topic at building level shared decision-making teams. So we look at this every year, and every year we find some great places to add, modify, change wording.
So Angelina might have been around a couple of years ago when it was the students who actually, during that 30-day period, brought something up. You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a year or two ago, we had a big dress code committee, and the students wanted to modernize our code of conduct with current dress, and they were successful.
I'm glad to see number 19, that was on page 16, about the propping open of doors, and, because in this day and age, I don't think we can take security too lightly, so. And I know kids think they're just letting in a friend, or, oh, I know that parent, but it's not
Yeah,
safe.
we've seen great improvements in that area, and we still, to this day, occasionally will catch, hey, Dad, can you drop my sneakers off at the athletic doors? And the dad goes to the door, and it's a quick exchange, and, I mean, if we catch it, we address it, but we just want their thinking to become more formal and safety conscious, so we thought it was a good addition to the code of conduct. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could please stand for the pledge. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask everyone to turn off their cell phones. Okay. I don't see it on the agenda. Okay, all right. Okay, so number 2B, we will make a motion to accept the agenda as prepared.
Second.
And I don't have any recommendations for either executive session, so if you'd like to amend the agenda to exclude both executive sessions, that would be proper.
So there's a motion to exclude the executive sessions from the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. All right, moving on to item 3. This is the budget presentation from Mrs. Feldman.
Good evening and welcome to the budget adoption. The Board of Education has to each year annually adopt the budget so that we can have something to put forward to the voters of the district to authorize. So we're going to start with our staffing increases. And we're going to look at the new positions. This budget currently includes 1 FTE for a third grade teacher and 0.45 full-time equivalent FTEs for teaching staff to increase their part-time hours for the specials that go along with the third grade classroom. In compliance with the board's wishes, this third grade classroom is to help us maintain the level of students per class to keep them low enough in the lower grades to give the good students a better foundation. We've increased 1 cleaner in the 18-19 school year due to a need for a cleaner in the district, additional cleaning staff, and so that position will carry on. So it's not new currently to the district, but it is new to the budget. 0.74 full-time equivalents will be for the fitness center staffing. What this is for is in the proposition when the capital project was approved in 2015, this Board of Education made a promise to the taxpayers that they would create a fitness center which would be open for public use. This is for the staffing during the public use time only. And then we're looking at 0.24 full-time equivalent an increase for a clerical in the business office. As we prepare to transition for the retirement of our special ed director, we're going to be bringing some of the financial components of the special education area back into the school district business office. So I always like to talk about what are we doing to keep taxes lower? Where are we sharing our services and what efficiencies do we have? We have a school resource officer that we share the expenses with the town of Eden. They contribute some of the expenses, as do we. Up until in 1819, we had a bullet aid grant from Senator Galvin, which we wish to thank him for, but that will no longer be available in the 1920 school year. So this will strictly be, cost will be borne by both the district and the town of Eden. Our tax collections, we utilize the tax collectors for the town of Eden and the town of Evans to assist in keeping our costs lower. Our tax bills are printed by Erie County. Our voting ballots are given to us from the Erie County Board of Elections. So our continuation of shared services on this slide is for BOCES, the Board of Cooperative Education Services. We utilize both Erie 1 and Erie 2 to get the full range of services that we can utilize. What these services offer districts is an opportunity to have services shared amongst districts so no one has to hire someone full-time if you don't have a full-time need. One of our great shared services is labor relations, and then we get some state aid back as they are trying to encourage districts to utilize this sharing of services. We have a workers' compensation. We utilize an Erie 2 workers' compensation consortium with school districts. This helps keep our rates lower than if we're out in the public. And unlike a public sector, we don't pay for an insurance. We pay the actual claim cost because it's less expensive for us. We have utility costs for our electric and our natural gas, which we use through the School Municipal Energy Consortium. We call it SMEC. Continued services are transportation services. We share with North Collins for special education and BOCES. We share some athletic teams with North Collins for football, volleyball, track and tennis. We do some swimming sharing with Gowanda. Facility use, what is that? That is where we allow the public to come in and utilize our facilities so that we can have a better community. So first and foremost, and new this year, is our fitness center, which is now open to the public. Eden Corn Festival uses the facilities here at Eden Elementary, the grounds and some of the building. Eden Town Recreation, which is open to all students in the district, not just those who live in the town of Eden. They use our buildings for summer rec. Eden Boys and Girls Clubs use our facilities. We have community education that we offer to the public. One of those community education type of offerings is our summer driver education program. And then I believe it's this year that the North Collins School District, it's either this year or next year, they will be using our facilities for summer school. And this year, I believe we're over at North Collins again this year. So this year is our term because of our capital project this summer, Phase 4. And next year, they will be here as a way to pay them back for their use of their facilities. So now I want to move on to the next slide and talk about the tax levy. The complicated tax cap formula, I've done my best to make it simple here. It's really not as simple as it looks on this slide. Our maximum allowable levy limit for the 1920 school year, this Board of Education could raise property tax levy 5.9% and still have everybody eligible for their STAR rebates, their state energy efficiency programs, and it would have to be passed with a 50% plus one majority, a simple majority. The maximum dollars under that formula were $846,000. And if you lived in the town of Eden and nothing changed from last year's equalization formulas, the assessments for the whole town, That would cost an Eden taxpayer $107,000, or $107 on a $100,000 home. I don't want to give anyone heart failure. So it would be $107 for a $100,000 home. This Board of Education has given me, as the Director of Finance and the Superintendent, the directive to keep proper taxes below the maximum allowable limit at 3.85, or $552,000. The impact on a $100,000 home would be $70 a year. So now, it's important to know, what did we spend our money on in last year's adopted budget? What are we planning to spend it on this year? And what are those changes? So our first column is expenditures, and it lists categories. And I will go through each one individually. The second column talks about last year's adopted budget. The next column is the proposal that this Board of Education will be voting on in this meeting. I'll have the dollar change and the percentage of change. General support. General support includes the district office, the business office, facilities and maintenance. So that was $4 million last year, and it's going down to $3.6 million, or $357,000, 8.83%. The major reason for that decline is we are a component member of the BOCES. And just like we have to have a local share of a project, BOCES is in the final year. We'll make our final payment this June for the BOCES project that is currently happening. We, as a component district, are the local share, so we have to make our contribution to them in the budget, and which we will get aid on in future years. So we're now talking about our instructional. This is everything that has to do with actually the direct services that impact our students. We're seeing a 2.25% increase, which is exactly where we want to see an increase of $346,000 for our instructional program. Our transportation services are going up 3.66%, or $76,000. That's contractual obligations, fuel, purchases of the equipment and things like that to keep our transportation running, to keep our students safe while they're on the road. Our civic activities are that's AKA, also known as our facility uses. So we adopted in 18, 19, 11,000, and this year it's up to 28,700. And that's the increase of 0.54 FTEs for the staffing during the public use time of the fitness center for a year, or $17,700. The reason that's such a huge increase is this is the first year that we will fully be budgeting for that amount. Our employee benefits, we've been blessed to be able to hold the cost at 2.9%, or $194,000. That includes the health insurance, Social Security, Medicare costs, and retirement system costs. Our debt service. Our debt service is going up $984,000, or 0.6%. That increase is directly related to the completion of the capital project and our going out to bond this year. Every year that goes forward, we will have capital changes in our debt service. It will go up or down depending. Sometimes the capital outlay can increase it or decrease it depending on what the costs were the prior year. Then we're looking at the interfund transfers. And when I look at the interfund transfers, $180,000, what does that even mean, an interfund transfer? Like a business that has subsidiaries, a school district has a general fund, which is the major business, and then we have other funds that interrelate for like the cafeteria and some of our grants and things like that. Our trust and agency, those are subsidiaries. So our interfund transfers, the biggest dollar in there every year, is we have to take $100,000 if the budget is approved and move it into the capital fund to pay for the capital outlay that Mr. Martin talked about. So that's what, and it also helps support our summer school program for our special education students and some of the loss that we typically occur in our school lunch program. So our total expenditures for the year, and this is what in the district that voters are actually legally voting on, is how much can we spend. We're asking them to increase it by 4.2% or $1.2 million from the 18-19 budget to the 19-20 budget. We're going to take an in-depth look again. This time it's the revenues. We have the column of categories. We have what was adopted in 18-19, the proposed for 19-20, the dollar change, and the percent change. So this Board of Education has asked me to present a budget to them tonight with a 3.85% property tax increase. So you see that $552,000 change in the property tax line is 3.85. Our state aid has gone up $397,000 or 3.33% increase over the 18-19 levels. Our federal aid, now when I looked at this, I have a little snafu here because it's the only one that has .00 in it, so it looks like a huge number. It's not. It's $11,912. It's going up because we perceive to get more Medicaid dollars for the related health care services that our special education students need. We've been achieving a little bit higher than our past year's revenue for a couple of years now, so it's conservative and safe to say that that revenue can be relied on in the 19-20 school year to close the budget. Our miscellaneous is going up 5.54% or $108,000. What is miscellaneous? Miscellaneous is everything from a lost book from a student, tuition that we receive from other districts when we take in their special education students, and the sales tax. And the $108,000 is reflective of an increase in our projections for tuition received from other districts for special education children. We are not incurring additional costs, but instead of having 3 students in a classroom, maybe we'll have 4 with a teacher that's in a 6-1-1 class. And so we don't have any additional costs that are being borne by our local taxpayers, but that helps us offset some of our special ed costs. And our director does a great job at that. Then we just have interfund transfers, and that's a transfer in as a revenue from the debt service fund to help pay for some of our capital. So now we have our appropriated fund balance. This one we're going to take a little bit of time on, because everybody wonders, what the heck, first of all, is fund balance? So I'm going to go back to Accounting 101. The assets equals liabilities, minus liabilities equals owner's equity. Owner's equity is the amount of money that a person has invested in a company. Our fund balance in the district is the amount of money that we have saved and accumulated over the years. It's not always money either in a fund balance. The unappropriated fund balance includes things like our fixed assets, our computers that we still are depreciating, things like that. So every year, the district tries really hard to stay and live within its budget and to be prudent in its expenditures. So for the 18-19 school year, this Board of Education said $586,000 could be utilized to reduce the impact on property tax owners. This year, because we needed to close our budget, this Board of Education said, I don't want to charge the taxpayers higher than a 3.85% increase. I want to be frugally and fiscally responsible. So $143,000, which is 1% of the levy, is being utilized of this appropriated fund balance or the savings to close the budget gap and offset next year's tax levy for the taxpayers. So let me try and think of a different way to put that, because it's a lot of complicated thoughts. But instead of raising property taxes 4.85%, this Board of Education has raised them 3.85% and used $143,000 of our savings to offset the budget so that they wouldn't have to raise property taxes any more than absolutely necessary. Yes, and that way they would move that into a revenue stream. So then the Board of Education said, we're still not quite at where we need to be to close the gap. So we need another $48,000, almost $49,000 of reserves to be allocated in this budget. Reserves are savings that are delineated for a certain expense, things like retirement contribution for the employee's retirement system. We have a reserve for accrued benefit liability, which means any payouts for vacation time if someone would leave the district. So we've increased that by $48,000 for next year. So again, you'll see our revenues have increased by 4.2%, or $1.2 million. This is important because, as the next slide will show, we have to have a balanced budget. So our revenues, inclusive of a 3.85% levy increase, would be $31,535,121, equal to the expenditures.
Can you advance this slide one?
All right, so our revenues must equal our expenditures. So what this Board of Education will be adopting, if it so chooses, is a $31,535,121 in revenues, inclusive of a 3.85% levy increase. What is a levy increase? Just so everybody knows, levy is the maximum dollars that can be raised by taxes to support a budget. So if 3 houses were built in the district, completed in the 18-19 school year, that doesn't allow us to tax those houses at a rate and increase our levy. Our levy is the maximum dollars we can collect from all taxes throughout the district, not an individual home. And then our expenditures would be $31,535,121. So we would have a balanced budget, which is what we need to do per New York State law.
So is it fair to say then, when you're talking about the levy, if there's more houses in Eden, it would spread out the pie more?
Correct.
Okay.
Now you have to watch out because March 1st is the date that they actually look at all the assessments. And then there's and I'm not sure the day in Erie County because I don't live in Erie County, but there's a day in Erie County when the levy is set. July 1st, I get actual numbers from the state when everything has been finalized and all of the back and forth with the assessors are complete.
I mean, I'm just speaking hypothetically, but.
No, you're right, because you could drive around and you can see houses being built, but we can't count them.
Right,
So
but
I think our
some-
growth was .007, but look at all these houses, but they don't count yet.
Right, but
They
they
may
will.
next year.
Someday, okay.
So on to the final slide. I want to take a little bit of time and explain what's going on here. The last day for the New York State to be informed of the budget that will be voted on May 21st is due to New York State on April 29th, 2019. That is why the Board of Education is looking at the proposition tonight. May 7th will be when we invite the public into the school district to go over a presentation showing everyone what is going on last year, what we're planning on doing next year, so that they are well informed on what is happening within the school and why they're being asked to vote on what they're being asked to vote on. And then May 21st will be the date that at the high school, the doors will be open to the public and you will be invited in to exercise your legal authority to vote for the Eden School District budget. Any questions?
So I'd just like to say that each year we do offer to do outreach to various groups. We certainly do them within the district as well, but we reach out by formal letter to various groups within East Eden and Eden. If there's anyone here who has not received an invitation that would like a particular group to hear their own private presentation, we're certainly we're happy to do that for you as well.
Lauren, is it correct that the proposed 3.85 levy increase is tax cap compliant?
Yes, so what that means is that we did not exceed the theory of the 2%, which is just a number in a multi-phased calculation. We did not exceed the tax cap calculation for the 1920 school year. So that means that this budget will require a 50% plus one simple majority to pass.
Laura, will the 3.85% levy increase affect STAR eligibility?
No, it won't, because being tax cap compliant allows the STAR rebate program to continue. So whether you've been in your house for a long period of time and it reduces your tax bill, or whether you get a refund check from New York State, those will continue forward under this budget proposition.
So Laura, what is the budget-to-budget percent increase?
Budget to budget, we talked about a couple of times, and that was a 4.2% increase. While that is not the same as the tax levy increase, that's just saying how much our growth in expenditures has been from year to year.
I think it's important to note, too, that for so long, we've been talking about an enrollment decline in the district. We're no longer in a decline in enrollment. We are not in a growth at the secondary level, but we are at a growth in enrollment at the primary level. And it's important for us to note that. It makes sense to me that our expenditures go up just simply because things are more expensive outside the district, but we are also getting more students in.
So I know there was questions last year about the property tax relief check. So if the 3.85% is passed, people will still be eligible then for their property relief tax, whatever. I'm not using the formal name correctly, but
You are dead on. It's a property tax relief program. This is the final year that it's in legislation. We don't know what will happen going forward. But for the 1920 budget, yes, all property owners will be eligible for that program if this budget is adopted by the board and then adopted by the taxpayers.
Could you explain or go over what the costs are that are covered by the 3.85 tax?
Sure. When we talked about this in the Finance Committee, which is who gave me the advice of what to bring forward to the full Board of Education, the comment was that in December of 2015, the voters authorized an increase in their taxes when they adopted the capital project. So portion of the 3.85 covers the increase to our debt service, which is our mortgage payment. Then, because we're increasing staffing for the third grade only, so the third grade classroom and the increase in FTEs for teachers who are already part-time in the district, who will give the specials for those students, those are the only costs that we're covering with that 3.85% increase.
Did we make any staff cuts with this budget?
No, not this year. We've been blessed to be able to hang on to the staff we have.
So an additional staff that we have going forward in the teaching is the additional third grade. Those of you who know that our third, fourth, and fifth graders are in the Main Street schools, those classrooms are small, at about 640 square feet. So it makes good sense for us not to put 26 students in those classes, and Mrs. Conley was one of the teachers at the time that helped to explain the square footage in those rooms, and it certainly is very true. We also have each year, you'll notice in May or in June, for the board members and for the public, you might see some small FTE changes in some of our part-times. That's as our principals start to tweak out the master scheduling to see who's traveling, who's not, what makes sense, and to make sure that what we have in part-time actually works. I do know, though, that there are FTE increases associated with that third grade, but there may also be a few increases noted in some of the other part-timers as well.
Again, though, the 3.85 specifically covers the projected increased costs for the third grade classroom and the capital project expenditure.
Not just classroom size, but our commitment to keep teacher-student ratio lower?
So it's a commitment to keep, especially at our primary and elementary, student-to-teacher ratios low. When I came here in 2013, I think by attrition, some of the classroom sizes at the primary and elementary levels were closer to 23, 24, which the board at the time and the teachers and the principals at the time felt was just really not manageable. And so we made a commitment to take a look at the research, take a look at our students at Eden and say what makes sense to us K through 3, let's say, including 4 and 5 at the elementary school. Knowing our students, knowing our community, I'm very proud to say that we did right size a couple of years ago, that it's made good sense for us to do that, and we're happy with the results that we're getting from it. What you may see in years to come that does not affect this budget is that we are seeing an increase, though, in the need for early intervention, and that's not just Eden, that's true all over the place. And so I would not be surprised. There is some early intervention in this budget for the primary building, for GLP, if in years to come you don't see that needing to increase as well.
So, as someone in the special education field, when you're using the term early intervention, you're referring to it at the elementary level or the primary level with regard to academic intervention?
Reading, math.
Okay.
There may also be some need as we start to tweak out some of our IEP meetings for related services, which be OT, PT, speech. Early intervention, as I've been talking about, is more of that math or reading for our little guys.
Anybody else? Okay. Moving on. All right, there is no executive session, so we're skipping items 4 and 5. Nothing from the administration and staff, correct? So we're on to item 6A, which is the request to withdraw any specific items from the consent agenda. Okay, item B, approval of consent. Now it's telling me my agenda is done. It's not done. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. God, computers.
Oh, what happened?
Sorry about that. Little computer malfunction there. So we have item B, approval of consent agenda. Okay, that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, items A through T be approved.
Second.
I need okay, let's amend that. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, consensus, items A through U be approved.
Lucinda, can you scroll down so I can see that we have them all?
Second.
We need just to change the wording in the action.
Okay.
Do you see it, Barb? Where it says A through T?
I'm reading off the right-hand side of the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. So, I made the motion. so
Oh,
it is-
second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item 7, public comment. This is the time that the board has designated to receive statements from individuals and groups. The board will review all statements and respond appropriately at a future meeting. All persons in attendance are required to sign the attendance sheet and designate their representation status, for example, parent, teacher, bus driver, chamber of commerce, etc. There is a 2-minute time limit.
Could I make a request that Mrs. Morose introduce her new family member if she's back? Did she go out again? Oh, my goodness. No.
Okay, so We're going to move on. There's no new business or resignations. Item 9A, appointments. There's the appointment guidelines. Item B, that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, special education teacher Shayna Cole be appointed as a home instructor.
Second.
Any discussion?
The only discussion I'd like to have is that I would like to make a recommendation that it's not attached to this resolution, but that we, as a district, take a look at pushing out a request to all of our potential home instructors, perhaps in June, so that they can all sign up if they're interested for the following year, and we can re-up it again in September so that they're there. We do that with other items as well, and then we don't have to approve them each time. I think it would be more efficient and would also be easier for the teachers to figure out what they want to do. But it doesn't affect this particular resolution.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh. Sorry. Oh, go ahead. Hi.
Are we going to have public comment?
We did. Nobody stood up.
Oh, my girls didn't know they did.
Oh.
Oh.
Can I go back?
Yeah, we can go back.
Let's go back.
Let me just approve this last, so that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Emily Townsend be appointed on probation as a .25 FTE bus attendant effective April 17th, 2019 through December 6th, 2019. Salary is based upon CSEA contract level 4, step 1.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. All right, we're going to move back to the public comment. Same guidelines still apply. Please state your name. You have to sign the attendance sheet and 2-minute time limit.
So hi, my name is Pim Ratanakan Somshu, and this is Eliana. We are from AFS Club, and we are hoping that you guys will approve our Chicago trip. We know it's close because it's at the end of May, but we really hope you guys will approve it. We think it will be a great educational experience and memories, like especially for me and other exchange students. Like we are hoping to go see the art museum, cultural center, and some historical tours. So I hope you guys will consider it, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Before you leave, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Thailand.
When did you come?
Last year in October. Yeah.
And what's been your favorite 3 things since October?
I went out with my brother to go trick or treat, and yeah, it was raining. Yeah.
It's the holidays, yeah. And is your friend an AFS student as well?
No, she's here. She's from Eden.
And what's been your favorite thing about having an AFS friend?
It's great. Like we can talk. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I know, pressure. Anyone else? This is your time for public comment. Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to item 10A, access the desks. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the following items be accessed and disposed of as the district deems appropriate. Items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item B, the 2019-20 school budget, that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the 2019-20 school budget in the amount of $31,353,121 be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item C, BOCES administrative budget, that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education of the Eden Central School District at a public meeting held on April 16th, 2019, hereby adopts a resolution approving the 2019-20 tentative BOCES administrative budget in the amount of $3,104,086.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item D, BOCES Board of Education members, that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education of the Eden Central School District cast one vote for the following candidates for the BOCES Board of Education with terms to expire June 30th, 2022. Ronald Catalano, Gregory Cole, Dwight Egan, Linda Hoffman, and Anita Ray.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. It just disappears. Item E, that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the 2019-20 commitment for BOCES services be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item F, purchasing via state contract for Converge 1. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, purchasing via state contract for Converge 1 be approved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd kind of like to let you know what this one is. So we were very fortunate to get good bids in phases 1 through 3 of the capital project. So that has allowed us to do a phase 4, which is allowing us to replace the public address system in all 3 buildings. This address system has been problematic for us where we have intermittent times when it works and doesn't work. And of course, that's not a good idea when you want to communicate to the whole school at once. So we were able to go out and bid. We got the contractor was approved on the first meeting this month in April. And now this is for the actual purchase and installation of the PA system throughout the district.
Good. Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item G. Here it is. The AFS overnight field trip. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the AFS overnight field trip to Chicago, Illinois, May 24th, 2019 to May 28th, 2019 be approved.
Oh, second.
Any discussion?
Kick me.
Can we come?
I would really like to thank Mrs. Pace for taking this on a couple of years ago. You always do such a great job with the students. They love working with you. Your requests for the field trips are always so detailed, takes all the anxiety out of it. And all I know is that when I look at it and I see that mile walk, I did that once as an advisor, and you know you're going to lose somebody in that mile, right? And you just do it with a smile every year. And I know that your kids love and respect you and that everyone's going to be safe, so thank you.
All right, here it goes. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item 11A, the business report.
So because you love everything I've had to say so far, I would like to thank the buildings and grounds staff. They have worked really hard through the inclement spring weather to get all the fields ready. And while you would think that it's not such a daunting task, but think about all the branches that have come down in your own yards. Think about the fact that the frost level's still in the ground, and yet they're getting the fields ready so students are on them. They're doing this on top of the fact that typically every fall, they're out there doing some prep work in the fall to make the spring easier. Well, they didn't get that opportunity last year between the early snowfall and the heavy, wet fall. They didn't get the prep work done, so they've had to do double duty to try and get the fields as usable as we have them today. And I just want to say thank you to them, because for the most part, all you ever hear, I'm certain, when you're doing the fields and stuff is what's wrong, because everything is such a time constraint. So I just wanted to say thank you, knowing you've done a lot of hard work and maybe not gotten the gratitude that they deserved.
Yep.
Thank you.
Then I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the budget, because you haven't heard enough over the past few weeks. And first, I want to again put out the superintendent's offer that any organization that would like to host Sandy and I coming out to your venue and giving a budget presentation, please contact the superintendent's office. They will be happy to see if we can set something up with you. And then I also want to remind people that the first thing you're going to see is a proposition for the following items. You're going to see adopt the expenditures for the district for the 1920 school year. That's what you'll be voting on. You don't vote on the revenues, you don't vote on the levy, they're just kind of come alongside of a balanced budget. You actually are voting on the expenditures that the district can spend. We're also asking that voters authorize us to use our savings to purchase some equipment and new buses for the district. The equipment will go in the maintenance department. And again, in utilizing the savings, there was no increase in the budget to account for those. All that funds comes from the equipment reserve. And then we're also going to ask, we've been blessed, as all districts in New York State, to get Smart Schools Bond Act, which gave us over $900,000 for technology advancements in this district. Well, that's a great gift, but it comes with a price tag to the future because we'll have to replace those so we can keep the programs in place that we're setting up for the students. So, on a prudent budget where we're able to save funds, we could put that into, if the voters authorize it, a technology reserve that we will be able to, just like we do with the vehicle equipment reserve, come back to the voters and say, we've saved this amount of money, can we spend it? Yes or no? So that's the whole point behind the technology reserve. We have to have voter authorization to set up this reserve. And then one of the most important things that will happen on May 21st is the election for the Board of Education seats that are available. I believe there's 3 this year, Mrs. Thomasula?
That is correct.
All right, so we'll be voting, the Eden taxpayers will be allowed to vote for 3 school board members that they choose.
Okay, Sandy, you're up.
Thank you, Laura. That was really detailed. I appreciate you doing that. I'm gonna defer part of my report to Angelia because she can certainly talk in more detail. But in the meantime, you might be able to see this up on the screen. Huge shout out to our Eden Elementary musical participants and the staff and our principal at the elementary school, Kelly LaRosa, who worked so hard to get Schoolhouse Rocks Live Junior up in this odd. It was the first time in the new odd. It was the first time trying to work around the board, and they did an incredible job. And I'm sure Lucinda heard as we were frantically trying to, no, that was the next night, wasn't it, when the computer decided it was going to go into an update right at the beginning of the musical. But boy, they were just troopers through that. So we learned a lot. National Honor Society induction is tomorrow evening. Please come join us. It's always a wonderful night. Remember, there's no school on Friday. I'm sure that hasn't gotten past anybody due to recess, and we'll be back on April 29th. Our fitness center is closed this Friday and Saturday in honor of the holiday, but we're open all of next week, Monday through Friday, at our normal hours, which is 5 to 9:30, and then Saturday 8 to 12. And if you are a community member and if you have not come to see our fitness center, please do. It is free if you are a senior citizen, and it's a really, really beautiful place. Our secretaries or administrative professionals day is April 24th, falls inside the holiday, but this is when we celebrate those who keep us all in line and keep us organized, which is our secretaries, and then National Nurses Day is May 8th. And so I hope everyone has a safe and fun holiday with their friends and their family next week. And I'm going to actually turn this over to Angelia to talk about herself and Ms. Holscher, because it's been a really exciting week for both of you. Both awards, okay?
Yeah, so Miriam Holscher and I, she's a fellow senior, we actually won a Western New York Safety Conference scholarship. There were 84 applicants across Western New York, and they picked 2 from Eden out of 4, which is really impressive because it's rare that 2 people from the same school won it. So on April 4th, we went with Mr. Shibish to the Seneca Convention Center downtown, and we accepted our awards. We were very excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh yeah, so tomorrow is actually National Honor Society induction, and I found out a couple weeks ago that I was one of the 600 national winners for a National Honor Society scholarship across the country. So I'm very excited about that too.
I actually didn't know that existed, so I'm really impressed.
I didn't either. I
know.
actually, it's funny because I found about it 2 days before the deadline. I was like researching online scholarships to apply for, and that one popped up right before the deadline. So I was lucky that I got it, my application in.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else going on at the school that you want us to know about?
Well, besides NHS, we actually just submitted the whole high school yearbook, which is a big accomplishment. I think it was close to 150 pages, so we put a lot of hard work into that. And currently, I am rallying the middle school yearbook club. I'm helping them kind of organize theirs and submit theirs.
That's a first for them.
Yeah.
So this is the first time the middle school and high school have split out yearbooks. It's a big job.
Yes, it is, especially when you have to organize the faculty and kind of teach the younger grades how to use the new program. So that's been fun. Coming up, though, on May 3rd, we have our spring fling dance for the high school. And then on May 17th, we have a blood drive.
Do you know yet where you're going to school next year?
I'm going to Damon College for physician's assistant.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Ms. LaRosa, I'm really sorry to put you on the spot, but I know you told me something about bald for bucks. Bucks for bald, which one is it? Bald for bucks. Bald for bucks. So is that elementary school?
And middle school and high school, PTA is sponsoring that event, and it will be near the end of May.
So PTA is sponsoring it for grades 3 through 12, Bald for Bucks, and it's going to be at the end of May. So if you have a lot of hair, Angelia not included, and you want to do Bald for Bucks, it should be a great event. Thank you, I appreciate the detail.
This is the board report and roundtable. Does anyone have anything?
Just to reiterate that if you hear of anybody that has any questions or doubts or concerns about what we talked about with the budget and stuff, please either pass on the information that we shared tonight or, encourage them to come to us so that we can answer their questions or concerns before it gets out on social media and starts this whole uproar like last year. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, looking at future dates, the next annual budget hearing is Tuesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. in the Eden Elementary School auditorium. Next Board of Ed meeting is Wednesday, May 15th in the Eden Elementary auditorium, and the annual budget vote is Tuesday, May 21st from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the Middleton High School auditorium foyer. There's no executive session, so we'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Have a good night.